Welcome all of y'all to our first English Future Speaker Series uh, of the spring 22 semester. We're going to have two more over the next couple of months. And tonight, I'm pleased to welcome back one of my former students, and see who else is on here. Denise is here. I don't know if Denise, if you had Heather in any of your classes, but she was back. When did you graduate, Heather? 2013? 14. Okay. Yeah. So a while ago. So
Yeah,
I doubt, well, I doubt any of our students would have been here back then, but
No.
that are currently here. Hopefully not. But yeah, I had Heather, and we were just having a little conversation before we got started about what I could call her as her job title. I'll let her explain a lot more of that, but I think we landed on some form of business owner slash social media director slash copywriter and all the slashes that come with having a brand new startup business, and she's done a lot of other interesting things over the course of her career. She's based out of Greenville, South Carolina. The current thing that she's working at, and the title that she gave me, is Director of Social Strategy and Growth at North 7, which is a real estate photography and marketing startup based in Greenville, South Carolina, not North Carolina. And before that, she's done some other things that she can tell us about. And I am really excited to hear the things that she's got to say to us. So Heather, I'm going to make you the spotlight. So go ahead and take it away.
All right, sounds good. First things first, y'all might hear my dog in the background. I'm at home. That's just the way my life is. Okay, so like Dr. Hasty said, right now I am, in the smallest of terms, social strategy and growth. So our company is growing really fast. It's been around for about a year. It was founded by two guys, one guy who did a lot of commercials in New York, and then another guy who's a local realtor. We all got together, came up with this idea that real estate needs a dedicated photography, videography, drone website, basically an all-encompassed platform to sell quickly. And we're really lucky that Greenville's a rising real estate place. And so we've been able to kind of piggyback on that and find success in that. So my day-to-day, as I told Dr. Hasty, is very spastic. I mean, the way it works is nothing is 9 to 5. I have a 2-year-old, so my life really 9 to 5. It's more like 7 to 7 when I can squeeze things in. Usually my day consists of creating some social content and adding it to a calendar, trying to build out like a best practices doc as I go through it. It's also like staying on trend. So mostly like it sounds a little silly and time consuming, but very much staying on Instagram, staying on Facebook, staying on LinkedIn, all of those things, and just trying to make us, our brand awareness increase. With that, so we started in Greenville. We just launched into Charlotte. So I've been helping with growing, which basically means that I find realtors who need our services. I pitch our ideas to them. And then we, find the applicants and the candidates that we think would be a good fit for our brand, try to teach them, which is very difficult, virtually. And that's how we're growing right now. So we're doing that in Charlotte. We just launched. And I'm hoping that by the summer we'll be in Charleston and hopefully another city by the end of 2022. So, like I said, it's very spastic and all over the place. That's just what my day is. But I have these questions that Dr. Hasty put down, just like things to talk about. Do you want me to just go ahead and go through those?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, sorry, I wrote stuff down, so I'm like reading off the side. Oh yeah, and by the way, see, these are things I like wrote down. I do a lot of like low level graphic design, which I never thought I would do because I'm not an artsy person. I'm not talented or gifted or anything like that. I definitely don't have any background in that whatsoever. But that's kind of like what a startup is that you have to figure things out, and there's always Reddit if you can't figure it out. Um, anyway, so how you went about finding, applying, interviewing. So I was pretty lucky, and this is not normal whatsoever. The founders of my company, Moses and Maddie, sent me a message on Facebook, actually, and we didn't know one another. We just kind of like knew the names, but from acquaintances. And they reached out to me and said, like, hey, this is kind of something that we're thinking about doing. Do you have any interest in joining with us? And I was like, yes, 100%. Like, I love real estate, and I feel like all of the different jobs I've had have kind of created me to be this perfect puzzle piece for that job. So it was really nice that they reached out to me. That's not normal. The job that I had before I was pregnant, before all of that, was like my dream job. Except I had to beg the founders for that job. I think I begged, I mean, legitimately begged for over a year. I would email, I don't know, the COO like twice a month. And then one time I found that they had hired someone else through my social media stalking and sent an email saying like, I wanted to be next, please pick me. Eventually they did, because I just kept hounding them. I think it got uncomfortable for everyone. So if, that's advice I can give, is to say like, don't underestimate yourself. Know your worth and know your value. And if you see something you're interested in, go after it. Like, no one's ever going to call you out for being like, too dedicated. It's not going to happen. So that's what I would have told myself if I was 22 again. Let's see what else is here. How English humanities degree helps you prepare for the work you do. Okay, so I'll admit I was not the best student. I worked 2 jobs and had an internship, and I can still remember sitting in Dr. Hasty's office the day before graduation, begging him to even though I loved his class, it's terrible at linguistics. But that is to say that, not everyone's a perfect student, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the skills to, be successful. So with that said, though, I feel like English majors kind of get a bad rap. I had so many people tell me like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to teach? And I was like, no, I don't have the talent for that. I am not patient. I am not gifted. It's not for me. So, honestly, when I first changed my major to English, it was mostly because I was a good writer and I like to read and I hated math. And from there, I really met a lot of people within the major that were so different from me. And I was taking classes that, showed me things that I had never known anything about. I grew up in Greenville. My whole family's from here. So, I was very limited on how the world actually worked. So I think being around other students who were from all over the place and had different views than me and could teach me things, as well as the professors. You have such a good variety of professors that teach you, and you learn so much. I would say the most important thing that the English degree gave me was communication skills. Um, Anyone can learn how to code, and anyone can, get on, MSNBC and, learn about stocks and all that stuff. Communication skills are something that evolve. And, I find that a lot, it's actually quite shocking how many millionaires and billionaires have absolutely no way of communicating. I feel like that is just an invaluable tool that we are very blessed to learn. And also just to, tolerate differences and understand, the way that our world is working right now, obviously, is that, we're very tech forward. We're very like, things aren't done like they used to be, just good and sometimes bad. So communication right now is so much more needed because we aren't always able to express our emotions or, say things in the right way. And, things can come across like misconstrued, and it becomes so important to choose your words wisely. And that is something that should never be devalued. What can students do right now to help them prepare for a similar job? I kind of want to like just quickly run through my resume because it's like I said, it's spastic. So when I graduated from Coastal, I immediately moved back home, and I had 2 job offers that I was really excited about. One was for a local tech company that was pretty big, and it was a sales job. And at that time, I don't think I had the confidence nor the intelligence or knowledge of how the world worked to really make the most of that. But it was good money, so I was definitely considering it. The second job was a news producer, and I was a little bit conflicted because I had student loans, but I ended up taking the news producer job, which did not pay well, but I learned so much. It was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. When I, went in for my interview and I was in the newsroom, I was like, this is amazing. I want to be a part of this. From there, quite frankly, journalism is really, really hard hour-wise. I was working crazy shifts, and I don't know how I survived for as long as I did. I loved it, but it was just simply not sustainable for the life that I wanted. But it taught me so much. And I got so much experience from such a young age. So then I went like the opposite end and, tried some marketing, some copywriting stuff, doing the typical 9 to 5, and learned a lot there, but just honestly wasn't inspired. Every day that I went in was more just like, I could have gotten this done in 3 hours versus the 9 to 5. After that is when I went to my first startup Greenville Today, which is 6 a.m. city. That was rapid growth, absolutely insane, in a good way. Learned a lot through myself. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anyone teaching me. It was literally just reading stuff on Reddit, trial and error, reading a lot, which is good because it's what English majors do. So I loved that job so much, but it was impacting my health. And my husband and I really were ready for, baby steps, legitimately baby steps. And so I got pregnant, and my career kind of took a back seat because I was very sick and had a bad pregnancy. I did some freelance work, which was great. Just some like newsletter editing, running some social media I did like LinkedIn and Denny's. And then, I had my son, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a few months off. Here we are, it's December 30th, 2019. And then about like 6 weeks later, the world was, upside down. So I really hit pause on my career, and I missed it every single day. I just missed the challenges. So that's how I am where I am now. But so what I'm saying is, just because you find interest in one thing doesn't mean you won't find something else in another. And if you're interested in something, even if you know absolutely nothing about it, just go for it. Like, you can't create passion. You can create so many other things, but if you are not passionate about something, you're not going to enjoy it. And you're going to leave every day saying like, oh, I could have gotten this done in 3 hours. So I just think that, to prepare is to, quite frankly, build your confidence. That's the best advice I can give, is to just know your worth, know what you're looking for, what you see your life looking for, like, 10 years from now. And, you might take some twists and turns along the way, but you'll get there as long as you just kind of see your eyes on the prize and learn every single day.
Daniel, can I jump in and ask a question that I can imagine
Sure.
a student might want to know the answer to? So Heather, thank you so much for doing this. I'm Denise Pastor. I teach composition at Coastal. You mentioned the 2 jobs that you had offers from when you graduated. How did you find those jobs? Like, how did you go about looking for them, specifically as a graduating English major? Like, what were some things you were looking specifically for in job ads? And can you just tell people a little bit more about that process?
Right.
As a lot of our students are probably going to be facing that moment soon.
Yeah. So I kind of like felt like there was this expectation of having something lined up as like before I even graduated. And as I've mentioned, I was sitting in front of Dr. Hasty the day before graduation. So to think that I had it together, I definitely did not. But I did do an internship at Channel 15 News in Conway. And I did sports and I liked it, but also hated it. I knew I wanted to be in a newsroom. So, I moved back home after graduation. I had applied to so many jobs. And then the news producer job came up, and my mom sent it to me and she was like, I think you'd be perfect for this. And I was like, I'm so not qualified for this. Like, I shouldn't even be trying this. So I applied just because, and I had just had an interview with the sales job that had offered me a position. And then I went the next day into the newsroom and was pretty much just sold on that. So yeah, if you don't have it lined up right in the moment, it's going to be okay. Just push through.
Yeah, and that was a great question, Denise.
Yeah.
And I want to follow up on as well too, just about, because I mean that's a big reason why we're doing the English Future Speaker series, because what jobs our graduates can apply for is often just so nebulous to us. It's not like you go to an English major website and then here are all the jobs, right? It is
Right.
often things like a news producer, which doesn't say English in the title, and they may not even on their list of qualifications list English major as what they want. So could you just speak a little bit about that, about like what are some, not even from your own experience, but from now in which what are some jobs that you would say these are good things that English majors can get hired in doing
Yeah.
that they may not know about?
Right. When obviously, since we were just on that topic, I mean, journalism is great. I was hired alongside people who graduated from Mizzou and they're great journalists. So, anything is possible, definitely in that field. And it's very easy to move up quickly. What else? Marketing, anything in marketing, quite frankly. And it just depends on your personality and like what you're interested in. I did copywriting and I enjoyed it. And typically a lot of English majors enjoy doing that. There's a few different websites that I would go on to find just some like, side hustle type things. And you can, kind of just find things kind of like nitpick which ones you are interested in. That's something that could help bridge the gap before you get a full-time position, is going on there and just, there's so many things where you can, be a remote editor, and it's part-time, stuff like that. That can help like kind of bridge the gap between post-grad and finding that next job, the job that you want. What else? Honestly, I feel like anything except probably like engineering. Like, I feel like you probably need to have an engineering degree for that. But for the most part, like I said, you're any skill that you are interested in can be taught. Communication, proper English cannot be taught that easily. So I mean, I'm trying to think of other ones. Oh man, I mean, a lot of like the nonprofit sector just, there are always many people who can create content, especially like newsletters and social media stuff. I feel like English majors are much more valuable to startup companies rather than companies that have been around for a little while, just because the systems in place and startups really want creative people. They want people who aren't like, okay, this is the job, this is what I have to do, and like put my head down and just do it. They want people who are creative and think outside the box. So, and it's a great place to get your foot in the door and, learn a lot. And it's, the expectations are a lot different within that. I think that's what I have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, a lot of good things that I find our students don't necessarily think are for them. Like you mentioned specifically, marketing, right? Like there are tons of marketing jobs out there, and they may list business degree and things like that
Right.
on there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's all that they're looking for. And
No.
yeah,
Right.
and it's yeah, so anything with marketing, even if you never took a marketing class, the
Yeah.
fact that as an English major, you've done, you write, you have been trained in how to communicate, what communication is all about, like close reading and all of this stuff, creative writing, especially. These are all skills that these people want. And Heather, do you find that that has helped you in certain ways by not being a business major? Has that like been an asset to you, like in some of these situations?
I mean, yeah, definitely, especially within, journalism and marketing. A lot of, like I said, the journalists that I was hired alongside of were journalism students at Mizzou, and that's the best journalism school. Like, these people were incredible, and they were literally trained to be journalists. Whereas, I didn't have as much of that. But I think during my interview, I sat down and I think I wrote something. I can't even barely remember. But the woman who hired me, the news director, she was like, I can just tell that you're passionate. And I know that you can write stuff very quickly. So that definitely helps. And then, oftentimes when you're in a situation where other people are applying and they have these different majors, I've been asked so many times, why were you an English major? And honestly, I'm like, well, at least you looked at my resume. You know that I'm different than pretty much everyone else around me. I don't think like a finance major. I don't think like a business major. So I think that, just it definitely sets you apart. And to anyone who tries to make anyone feel like that it's a negative, that it's, oh, you're an English major, like, what are you going to do with that? Like, it's not like that at all. It's actually quite the opposite. You just have to learn how to like sell yourself a little bit differently because you're different.
But one of the things that I was really interested in and struck by, and it seems to be from what I'm seeing out there, just like a really hot and open job market is in a lot of this social media and digital writing content. So I know you did some work for companies on LinkedIn and stuff. So can you just talk a little bit about that? Like, what is it like to be a social media coordinator, or to get hired in those kind of jobs? What do those jobs look like? Like, where do you find them? Are they called what are they called? If someone were interested in going that route and writing, doing social media type stuff, what would they look for? Where would they look for? And what would it be like?
Right. Okay. So a lot of people think social media content creators, it's just like this super glamorous, like really fun job, when in fact it's actually very tedious. I mean, I probably spend about like 2 hours of my life a week on making an Instagram reel. But that's marketing. That is, you put the effort in and you just hope to God that it works out. So if you were looking to be interested, or you want to learn more about it, or whatever the case may be, you want to go for social media manager, marketing assistant manager. A lot of the times, sometimes like the social media just falls under a marketing manager's umbrella. So a lot of the times you'll start as a marketing manager, unless it's a really big company and they hire you on as a social manager. I will say that I've had a lot of interns, and the interns that did the best and then interns that did the worst. I had one girl tell me that she was really interested in working with me because her dream job was to be an influencer. And I was like, well, this is probably not going to work out. Because that's just simply, it's not glamorous. You sit there for 2 hours and make an Instagram reel only for Instagram to crash, and then all of your work is gone, and nothing works out. So in order to be involved in that, you really kind of have to pursue at first probably some marketing manager type role. And I mean, there's various places that you can get started on that. If you're interested in just the social aspect of the marketing, you might want to take on a marketing manager role that specifically lists social media management in the job description, along with like the platforms that they use. So, right now I have built our brand across all social media platforms, and I'm having to start everything from scratch. So if you're really good at LinkedIn or really good at YouTube, those are things that you can say like, here, I have this great asset and I think I can build your brand across YouTube. And that's a huge check mark, because right now I'm having to start everything, and I wish I had an intern or somebody to come in and say, here, let me take this platform off your plate so I can get 2 hours of Instagram reels done. So that's what I would look for. Like right now, a lot of places, a lot of startups specifically, will take on interns as kind of like remote work. I had an intern that worked kind of like a crazy schedule because he had a full-time job, and he really wanted to learn how to write more. And he actually was in sports broadcasting. So he worked with me, and we would just kind of send things back and forth, which was really helpful for me because he was kind of covering the hours that I wasn't covering, and vice versa. And he, learned some skills, and that's what he wanted to do to help him further his career. So, like I said, I had an internship in college, but I also had 2 jobs because most internships don't pay. So, don't be afraid to kind of reach out if you like something and you like a company, and just say like, hey, I'm really interested in this. I think I can bring some value. Even if it's remote work, especially right now, you can definitely do that. And, it might just give you a little bit of something to put on your resume that might help you get the bigger full-time job that you're really looking for.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We got to follow up with that, but we do have a question here. So do you have any suggestions about looking for English-related internships or jobs in Greenville specifically? Okay, so that's a good local place.
Yeah. So in Greenville, there is there's like a Facebook group called Greenville Young Professionals, where people legitimately just post everything. And by young professionals, I mean like 50 and under. It's kind of like involved just to like people just engaging in content and stuff like that. But I mean, like, I'll post our brand stuff in there sometimes and be like, hey, realtors, like this is what we're doing. So I would definitely suggest going in and, getting added to that Facebook group. There's so many opportunities. I mean, there's just so much. And, just because an internship isn't listed doesn't mean that you can't find one. If you see something you like, message the brand, message the person associated with the brand, do whatever you want to, get your foot in the door and get the conversation started. Greenville specifically, it is kind of like a little tight knit community. It's, as much as it's growing, it's a little difficult to, I don't know how to describe it. We're growing really fast, but we're also very small. So I would just, follow whatever sorry, my husband just pulled in the driveway and I can see him. If there's like a brand you're interested in, like, let's say, Greenville has like the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. You can follow them on Instagram. If you're interested in really working with them, I would find on LinkedIn the marketing managers and, send them a message. And I actually think I know one of the guys who does the marketing there, but, you kind of have to like insert yourself before, they're not always going to be out there. You kind of have to just like make the best of it. Also, Haley, I'm happy to help you in any way that I can.
Oh, so yeah, we have another question here. What was your criteria for jobs when applying? What were you using to screen them and that sort of stuff? So, kind of a question about your application process.
Yeah, especially when I first graduated. Thanks, Denise. It was nice to meet you. Yeah, when I first graduated, I think I essentially was just like looking at anything and everything that popped up on Indeed. And again, that's been 8 years. So life has changed a lot since I was post-grad. But when it came to criteria, I would say, I was looking, writing, editing. And there's a lot that comes up with that. Like sometimes you'll get like a code writer and you're like, okay, that didn't mean that kind of writing. But, I would definitely like search for writing, editing, even marketing, because sometimes it might be like listed as marketing, but when you read the job description, it's maybe nothing like that, because people sometimes don't have the best communication skills. So that's kind of like what I looked for. And I think I might have looked for journalism just because that entailed news and writing. And I probably looked for marketing because that, did writing and editing. Like there was a lot that I was just basically like, somebody hire me, please. That's pretty much it.
You mentioned several times about internships, and that you had one while you were here at Coastal, and it really sounded like that helped you get a lot of that experience to get your foot in the door to really get your first job. So yeah, so do you like suggest internships? Is that something that our students should be doing right now, or things that they can do to
Yeah.
get those jobs?
I mean, so, it's really hard because if you're anything like I was, you're a broke college student and you're just trying to pay for groceries and rent. So it can be really hard. I do think that internships can be super helpful if you can manage to swing it. Like I said, it no longer needs to be in person. You can probably find some remote. There's so many ways that, that opportunities that I just simply didn't have because those kind of things didn't exist yet. So I would definitely suggest it. And, if it's somewhere where you are physically there, people are going to see that you're physically there. So hopefully you get a job offer out of it. And if you don't, at least you can use those people on your resume. And so you'll go out and you'll apply to these places and people will see that you've worked there. And if you have like that you worked under, like I worked under the sports director who had been at WPDE for like 25 years or something like that. And that was a great person to have because everyone at the job I was hired at recognized his name and they were like, oh, cool, you worked for him. Like, he's so big in the business, blah, blah, blah. Like, we love him. So that was really great. Even though I didn't get a job offer from my internship helped me build connections and people take me seriously more than just like a kid who's, right out of college and has no idea what she's doing. So if you can swing it, definitely suggest it. And if you can't, I would recommend just kind of, trying to do some freelance work, because not all the time anymore do you need a bachelor's degree to, post some Instagram pictures. It's not always like that anymore, especially for really, really young startup companies. They're just looking for people who can literally just post content because they don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, and that was something that you mentioned a couple of times, was freelance work of different kinds. And I think some of our students might be interested in doing freelance, or thinking that that's something that they might want to go into. Can you give us some ideas about where do you go? Like, if, all right, I want to do some freelance work, where is it at? Where do I go find it?
Yeah. So recently I've kind of been finding some people, this is just an example because I was talking about it, to help me with the Instagram reels, because it's just gotten so time consuming. I just don't have time to be on my phone. So there's a website called Fiverr, like Fiverr. And you can essentially, so if you were going to find someone for help on Fiverr, if you were looking to hire someone for something, for freelance work, like, you would go in and I would choose marketing, and then I would choose social media, and then you can narrow it down to like Instagram reels, LinkedIn posts, different things like that. So the user, the freelancer, can literally create the things that they are really, really good at. So if you have a ton of time, good, then you can take on a little bit more work. It also shows you how much things cost. You can display your previous your portfolio essentially. So people can see you, they can contact you, tell you like, hey, this is, I'll send like a video of one of our houses, be like, hey, create me something cool from this. And then they'll send something back that says like, okay, this is the charge. And then it just pops right up. It's very streamlined. And honestly, it's a lot. I don't even think Fiverr existed like 2-3 years ago when I went back and like went into freelancing. I think I used Flex Jobs, which you have to pay for. But those are much more like full-time remote work. It's really good for that, but you'll get a lot in a job search. So you can apply to like 100 different places, and it's so time consuming and none of it might work out. So I definitely recommend for people just starting out to use Fiverr, because you can basically present yourself, and then people come to you instead of you having to spend hours and hours on applications for people who might not even ever look at it. It's a good way to like just add some stuff to your resume, so whenever you do get to send it out, then it you have a lot to put on there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Fiverr's a great resource that people may not be as familiar with.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can do all kinds of freelance work on that. It's not just for writers. So there's
Right.
a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
And I was going to say again about internships, that if you're interested in getting an internship, from some of the stuff Heather has said, and it's got you thinking, hey, I might want to look into that for my last semester, or maybe between the summer of my junior and senior year, or wherever you're at in your student career. If you're interested in getting an internship and don't know how to do it, we have a whole department, or I guess I don't know what they're called. We have a whole group here at Coastal that's what they do. They give off the intern. I've got what are they called? The career. They're a division of career services.
Right.
And so they have literally, this is a very old flyer here, but they've got literally hundreds and hundreds of internships that are local, that are wanting specifically to work with coastal students. They've got them broken down into English, journalism, and writing internships. So if you want one, they've got them. I've talked for several years with uh, the directors of internships here at Coastal, and they've one of the things they've always said too is that if you want to get an internship and it's not here in Myrtle Beach or Conway, they can help you find an internship back in your hometown, right? If you're from out of state and you're going home for the summer and are interested in building out your resume, like Heather was talking about, they can help work with contacts on the ground back in your home and help you find an internship. Like Heather said, a lot of times these don't pay actual money. Sometimes they do. But you can get actual college credit for many of these internships. They can count as an upper division English class. You can get X number of credits from internships. So, just because you're not getting paid for it doesn't mean it's like being like thrown away, building out your resume, but you can also get college credit for that. So if you are interested in that, please talk to me, talk to Dr. Childs. We'd be more than happy to help you get set up in these things, because they can be a great way, especially for an English major, of getting out into the world of jobs, and helping you to see what kind of things you can do as an English major. Like we said, it's not always that obvious. And they can be these great stepping stones, like was able for Heather to get into a job that you may not feel like you're qualified for because all you have is an English degree. But if you've interned for however long it is at this place, that can lead to these opportunities. Another thing I just wanted to reiterate that that Heather kind of said and really applied to her story, was that the road to your dream job is not always a straight line, right? So like Heather mentioned several different things that she did, and then that led to this and that led to that, and it's been like, that was that trouble we had before of like, what do I call you?
Yeah.
What is your, because you've done so many different things, but that's kind of how it is, right? That's how it works. And you mentioned one of your first jobs you weren't that excited about, but it was sort of a stepping stone onto the next thing. And so, like, is that a problem? Like, I feel like sometimes our students they have like a dream job in mind, but it may not necessarily be feasible right out of graduating to get that. So yeah, can you just speak on that for a second?
Yeah. And, I feel like so many times people said, like, you don't want to jump from job to job to job. And while that's true to a certain extent, you don't also in my opinion, I would rather hire someone who has had various jobs and can come to me and say, like, I learned enough here and I wanted to learn more somewhere else, instead of someone who has had the same job for a decade. I need someone who's creative and innovative. So people who have these different job changes, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad employee. In my opinion, like I said, I'd rather hire someone like that than hire someone who's a little bit more sedative in their career. But with the sorry, I can hear my kids screaming. So moving, from job to job, I would just say, like, a lot of people have like this dream job idea, and I definitely had that dream job idea. And the company, the Greenville Today, 6 a.m. City, that was my dream job. That's why I worked so hard to get it. And I pestered them and I annoyed them. But then it turned out it wasn't my dream job. It was what I thought I wanted. But in the end, it was almost like a mirror because, I'm someone who has a very like, I've become like a workaholic and not in a good way. I really struggle at balancing it. And with that job, I became very sucked in and there was no balance. So, you know, the job in theory was, my dream job, but it really wasn't. And um, so I would say don't necessarily worry about like the dream job, worry about like the dream life. Like, what do you want your life to look like? What kind of person do you want to be? What do you want to spend your day doing? So if you want to spend your day, if writing is what brings you joy, like find a way to write about things that you don't totally hate. If being around people and selling, just communicating with people in general is something you want to do, like find a way to make that work. Um, Careers are great. I love it. When I had to take 2 years off because of this terrible pandemic, I was losing my mind. Um, it's just not my style. But you know, if you have to shoot for what is going to make you happy. And in terms of a dream job is going to be whatever, makes your life work. Whatever gives you happiness and helps you live the life that you want to live. So when you're picking and choosing different things to apply to, just know that they are stepping stones. And one day you're going to look at your life and you're like, how did I get here? And you're going to see every single little stone that you stepped on that created the creative person that you are, so that you can, perform well in your job and, have the life that you really dreamed of. I would just say, focus on the life that you want and everything else will fall into place. I know that sounds a lot easier than it actually is. But if you have that in mind, any job will eventually be your dream job. You just kind of have to figure out your way and maybe step on some sharp rocks or ones that fall through and fall off the path a little bit. But that's what I would say. Just dream jobs are always what we think they are, a dream. And my whole thing is I love creating. So I always just try to what's the next thing? What's going to make me happy? That's what I would have told myself at 22.
We're almost out of time, so I just want to, take a second once again and thank you, Heather, for coming out, carving out some time out of your busy work life and mom life and everything that you've got going on to speak with us, and some really good, great content here for our students. And what are some next steps if I'm going into the world of work? And if you do have any more questions for Heather or want to get into the kind of things that she's doing, and Haley was asking earlier about specifically internships in there. If you want to get in touch with Heather, please just send me an email and I'll get y'all hooked up with Heather, and you can ask her more questions or get her advice on things.
Yeah, I'd love that. Seriously, please.
All right. Well, we'll end it for tonight. Thank you, Heather. And if y'all are interested in enjoying these things, come on out to our next English Future Speaker Series, which is, I'm looking at the date here, going to be March 29th. So also on a Tuesday, also at 5, also on Zoom. And at this, we're going to have Pat Siebel, who is another former Coastal graduate. Heather, I don't know if you were here when Pat was here.
I don't think so.
Okay. So Pat Siebel was another former English major here at Coastal, and he'll be coming to speak about jobs. So look for that. All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you so much.